What's up, Cardfighters? I'm Grade07 with Genesis Gaming, and you are watching an all-new deck profile for Royal Paladins. Now, I do believe this deck is original. I try my best to bring you guys original content, unique content, things that you won't see anywhere else. So I do believe this deck is pretty original, but then again, at the same time, I haven't looked up anything on it. So, but without further ado, we'll go ahead with the deck profile. So we have starting Legend Ambrosius. I just run him. I don't even know why I run him. I mean, it's just the Royal Paladin starters are pretty subpar right now. You have Styus, but some decks just you're not going to be brave with. This is one of those decks you're just not going to be brave. And you have Milius, but his cost, the counterblast for a lot of Royal Paladin decks at this current time is just a little too heavy. That you know, and you have other ways to get grade 2s out that are, you know, free. So yeah, we really don't have any good starters. So Ambrosius he's just kind of one of those units you can get him into the soul real quick. You can get his skill off before he gets sniped by Kagero, Narukami, or Shadow Paladins, or you know. So, but you just put him in the soul, drop a card, draw a card. You get his skill off, then you can put a 7k behind your Vanguard and swing for better numbers. So he's just a card that you'll most likely use his skill. So that's why I run him, just because I want to use his skill. You know, I want to get my skills off. Grade 3s is Broken Heart Jewel Knight Ashley reverse, and I'm not gonna go into her skill, sorry, because her skill is just useless for us. You know, yeah, it's useless. I'm never gonna use it. If you run this deck, you will never use it, so don't even worry about it. We just want her for her name. And we have 3 Pure Heart Jewel Knight Ashleys. And she's a break ride, 10k and a crit to whoever rides over her during the break ride. But that's also not important. We just want these grade 3s for their name. That's it. So those is grade 3s. For the grade 2 lineup, also for this deck, you could essentially run the Jewel Knight Legion. Yeah, you can run the Jewel Knight Legion. I believe his name is Yvain. He Legions with Swordmy. You can run him. I kind of recommend that you run him because you will deck out with this build. So grade 2s, run 4 Swordmy. Swordmy, I guess I'll go over her skill because it's her skill. It's pretty basic. When it's placed on rear, you counterblast 1 card with Jewel Knight, and you superior call a Jewel Knight grade 1. So Swordmy gives you a +1 to the field, and you will be swinging for 16k. It's also not GB restricted, so it's good for early game. So Swordmy, good card. Next is 3 Sage of Salvation Benon, and his skill is also not GB restricted, so this is all early game right here. And you counterblast 1 when he's placed on rear, and then you search your deck for up to 1 card with 6,000 power and call it to rear in the same column as Benon. So once again, you can make another column. So he gives you a +1 to field, and the unit he calls also gives you a +1 to hand, which you'll see in just a bit. So right now we have just an early game that we're able to create full columns, full boards, and gain quite a bit of advantage early on. Next is 2 Knight of Twin Swords. I probably would run 3. After I show the next grade 2, I'll tell you why. But his skill is GB restricted, but you counterblast 1 when he's boosted, and he attacks a Vanguard, you superior call a grade 2 from deck. So he's good at attack extension. Or if you don't have any grade 2s in hand and you have a column, you can swing with that column, then call and create another column, because these two are going to be like your call targets, and each one of these can create a column. So essentially with him, you can swing for one column and then superior call an entirely new column, which is one of the reasons why I say you'll deck out, is because instead of the typical Royal Paladin deck calling maybe one card per turn or occasionally two, this deck, anytime you superior call, you're most likely going to call 2 cards instead of 1, and then you're also going to draw a card as well. So it's really susceptible to deck out. That's why I recommend you probably run Evane to prevent that. In the last grade 2, I run 2 Blaster Blade Spirits. I would recommend going down to 1 and then going to 1 more Twin Sword. So 3 Twin Sword, 1 Blaster Blade Spirit. Blaster Blade Spirit's a nice call target because for one, he gets a pretty decent retire just when he's called from that counterblast 1 and retire front row, which is cool. But then if you call him off of Alt Mile skill, he's 18 alone, and if you have a 7k booster behind him, he's swinging for 25, which is a good number for Royal Paladins. Or if you ride him, he's 10k, so you get the early game defense for 10k no pass. So that's another good benefit to have. That's what I was running to, because I'm like, I want to be able to ride him. I want to be able to call him, but I think you'll be good with going 3 Twin Sword, 1 Blaster Blade Spirit, and that should be good for the deck. So grade 2s. Grade 1s consist of 4 of the Jewel Knight Perfect Guard, so this does not countercharge. I haven't been finding an issue with that, with counterblast, because typically, you'll make a field. Why are these mixed up? Typically you're gonna make a field with these 2 guys, and a lot of times your opponent doesn't have the cards necessary to check it so early on, so your field usually stays once you make it, and then you take a damage here or there, so you kind of always have a counterblast to go off of. And then also we use the Alt Mile Stride, and he gives a free call. We also utilize the Blade, who also gives a free call. So really the CBs aren't too bad in here. I haven't experienced any counterblast issues, so yeah, all good. But then also, Dote is very prevalent in the meta. It's not really played where I'm at, so whatever on that note, but it is being played now. So if I can run a normal Perfect Guard and get away with it, I'll do that, and in this deck I can. So next is for Stinging Jewel Knight Shelly. This is the Swordmy call. So you go into Swordmy and you call Shelly. So 16k column. But in some cases you're able to build with so many Jewel Knights on the field to where you might even get her 10k attack ability off. She's a 10k attack if you have 3 or more other Jewel Knight rear guards. So sometimes you are able to get it off. Next is for Laurel Knight Sisylas, and he is the Stride Enabler. He's the Alt Mile Searcher, but we do not run Alt Mile because Swordmy is restricted to all grade 3 Jewel Knights. That's the reason we play the Ashleys. That's the reason or you play the Evane. But you have to have all grade 3 Jewel Knights. So yeah, just use him as stride fodder. And then last but certainly not least is 3 Hidden Sage Mirren, and his skill is when he's placed from the deck to the to rear, you Soul Blast 1 and you draw a card. So that's where Benon comes in, and yeah, you get this 14k column, which isn't really a big number, but it is a column. It is 5k guard, and but you get the draw off of it, and the draw is really good. Also on the Altma turn, if you drop this column for Altma, he's 17, so it is a 10k column when you're on Altma. So, and that is the grade 1s. So pretty much this deck is focusing, trying to get everything done on the early game as possible. Like I said, deck thins extremely fast. You will most likely deck out, or you might just kill. There's a possibility you will kill your opponent too. But if they're able to drag the match on, like I've play tested against my Genesis decks quite a bit, and it gets very, very low. My deck gets very low, so there's a possibility of deck out, but you will hit mad triggers. just the last play test I did, I've only seen 7 to 8 triggers, and I had 12 cards in deck, and I swung with Saint Blow, and opponent guards for 3 to pass, and yeah, 3 triggers. I knew it'd be 3 triggers. I'm like, come on, I have over half my deck's triggers, so you do get the trigger benefit, but it does it does deck out. It can deck out really fast. But trigger lineup is 8 Jewel Knight crits. This guy has a skill. You won't use it. You can. It will definitely probably go off. It can go off, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. We have Miron to cover ground, so we're good. Also, 4 Jewel Knight draw triggers, and then 4 Jewel Knight stand triggers. Awesome. Heal me. Yeah. He's like the best stand trigger. Next to Elaine. I don't know. I like both of them a lot. But yeah, all Jewel Knight triggers. That's for Swordmy. And that's another reason for the PG2. For the Swordmy, get the Jewel Knight name. And yeah, I've never had an issue with Swordmy's ability. I've always been able to use it because yeah, all the triggers are Jewel Knight. You have a couple of grade 1s that's Jewel Knight. Your grade 3s are Jewel Knight, and then if Swordmy hits the damage zone, he's Jewel Knight as well. So on to the Stride deck. Now I have 2 proxies in here. So we'll start with the G Guardians. I will only run 4. These will be 2 more. A Dismal and Screw You. I'm just waiting on them. But yeah, G Guardians are, you know, Dismal will guard your Vanguard for 26, and you can give one of your units resist. A superior form of resist. They can't be retired or attacked or anything in the turn. So that's really good. Screw You. You discard a card from hand and he gives you plus 10k shield. So really good option. Other than that, it's the Holy Laser Guard Dragon. And this one, if you control a grade 2, 1 or more grade 2s, it gets 5k. So you guard your Vanguard with this and it's 31. So that's G Guards. I will only run 4. I used to actually only run 2. Because, yeah, Royals, I don't know, I just don't seem to get them off, really. So, yeah, but whatever though. Next is the Almighty Gablade. Very good card, especially in this deck, because if your opponent allows you to hit with him, you don't just get a grade 2, you get an entire column. You also just might, you know, plus your hand. So, very, very good in this deck particular. I mean, he's pretty good in any deck, but in this deck particular, he's extremely good. Yeah, no room to run 2. If I could run 2, I would. I might even take out a G-Guard to run 2, because he's quite good. Being able to get a whole, an entire column for a single counterblast. Absolutely perfect. And this is, and he gets it from deck, so it's not like you're dropping hand to get the column. This is coming all from deck, so it's plus 2 to field with his skill. So the Blade's a monster. He's awesome. Next is another one of, which is Divine Knight of Flashing Flame Samuel. And Samuel is good because, like I said, typically if we make a board, the board stays. So the counterblast most of the time are there to use, and it's a good way if your opponent's at 2 damage, even 3, and you swing with him, deal them the extra damage. Now you're forcing the PG, or you're forcing them to drop maximum guard, or else they risk taking a crit or 2 and losing the match. So really good pressure from him. And yeah, he's just really good. So one of is good. He's a good option. You might not always use him, but he's a good option for this deck to have. Next is 2 Climax Jewel Knight Lord Evangeline. I will only use her once. She's just another option for the deck. But her skill is you turn a copy of her face up once per turn, and all your Jewel Knights on the field get plus 3,000 power. So I'll only run 2. It's a decent option to go into because it is very likely that you will have 2 Swordmy and Shelly columns. So it's very likely that you'll have this on both sides of the Vanguard. If you do, you're able to swing for 22 and then 22 and then whatever your Vanguard's swinging for. So that option is good to have because it gives you a nice power up on the whole board, forces more guard and pressure on your opponent. Next is one of the lords of the deck, Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. He's a staple in every Royal Paladin deck because when you stride him, you turn a copy of him face up. If you're GB 2, so if you have 2 or more Gs on G units face up, you can superior call a grade 2 to the field and give it 5,000 power. Then he also is going to give your entire front row 3,000 power. So when you go into him, and let's say you do go into a Swordmy, you'll also go into the Shelly. So Swordmy and Shelly is 16. You get the 5 from him, which is 21. Then you get the 3, so you get a 24k column, which is nice. It's very nice. And you could also, if you have the grade 1 on field and nothing in front of it, you could go for the Twin Sword. So that way Twin Sword can actually go into a column by calling Swordmy or calling the Benon. So this deck's just all about getting columns, keeping the field consistency going, and you know, just minor multi-attacks. So, but yeah, Altmile's good. He's really good. Always, any Royal Paladin deck needs him, but he's definitely good for this because the types of calling that we do in this deck. And then last but certainly not least is 4 Saint Blow. And his skill, you activate ability. You turn a copy of himself face up, and he gets 3,000 for each of your rear guards. And then if you have, well, it's a GB2 skill, so you have to have a 2 or more G units face up. Yeah, he gets 3,000 for each rear guard, and if you have 2 or more rear guards, he also gets a crit. Like I said, this deck is gonna have the columns. It's gonna keep the columns there, and if you don't have the columns, you're probably gonna call the columns. So full field is kind of always there, and because of that, he's always gonna be gaining a 15k bonus. So his 15 plus another 15 from the field is 30, plus 11 is guaranteed 41, no booster. If you have a booster behind him, maybe a 7k or a 6k, because that's all we have. But if you have one of those behind him, you can get all the way up to 48,000 power and a crit. So really good. Never use him to draw out the PGs. There's other ways you can do it, I guess depending on the state of the game. But you have Evangeline. If you have the columns, you know, draw out the PGs with her, draw out the PGs with him. Possibly Altmile. Altmile doesn't. He sometimes draw out PGs, but don't draw out the PGs with him. Make this your finisher, because like I said, you run the risk of decking out. So make him the finisher. Don't make him the pressure. Make him the finisher. End your opponent with this guy. And if they have the PG and you didn't know, okay, that's fine. PG down. But yeah, same blow. So G-Zone is set up like this because we don't have Altmile, so we can't run Transcendent. We don't have Sanctuary Guard. We can't run Sanctuary Guard, so we don't have Regalia. So I feel this is the best way to run the G-Zone for this deck. But it is a pretty decent deck. I haven't taken it to tournament yet, but I have play tested it. It is very consistent, and it's pretty good. So I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Like I said, I always try to bring you guys something unique and fresh and original. So I hope you guys like this. If you have the cards for it, give it a try, and tell me how you like it. So thanks for watching.